Welcome, Pewter Report readers, viewers, and listeners to a brand new edition of the Pewter Report podcast brought to you by our friends over at Briar Greaves Insurance. Protecting your assets starts with a company that you can count on. So whether it's auto, homeowners, flood, boaters, or business insurance, Briar Greaves Insurance are the people to talk to. Go to briargreavesinsurance.com or give them a call at 813-876-4166. That's 813-876-4166. On today's show, we are going to talk about the secondary of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and specifically why Todd Bowles, the Bucs head coach, may be unhappy with that group based on some comments that he made back at the morning breakfast press conference we had with him at the owners' meetings. We are back in Tampa, though. I'm your host, Matt Matera. Joined with me is Scott Reynolds. Scott, how are we doing?
Doing good, Matt. We're back from West Palm Beach, racing back to town to do the podcast, and had a good time at the NFL annual meeting, and it was great to catch up with Todd Bowles. Spent a whole 30-minute session with him, a couple minutes over, and he had a lot to say. And I think one of the interesting takeaways was his stance when it came to the depth at the cornerback position, especially, was quite different from Jason Licht and how he felt about the depth at cornerback. Very interesting. A little bit of a disagreement there in terms of how they see it. One thing is clear. We know this. They will be drafting at least one defensive back. And if I had to bet my house, I would say at least two defensive backs, maybe two corners, maybe a safety in a corner, maybe a nickel and an outside corner. I think we're going to see at least two defensive backs selected in this year's draft. Remember, go back to 2019. The Bucs had similar instances where they needed to really add depth and competition and find a couple starters. In Todd Bowles' first draft with the Buccaneers, Bruce Arians was the head coach at that time. But the Buccaneers wound up drafting three defensive backs in that year's draft class. Second-round pick, Sean Murphy-Bunting. Third-round picks, Mike Edwards, safety, and Jamal Dean, cornerback. So wouldn't be surprised if this is a very heavy defensive back-laden draft class. I think at least two out of the six picks will come in the secondary.
Yeah, it was just very interesting to see that Jason Licht and Todd Bowles did not have their stories straight. Jason Licht, understandably, felt pretty good about the depth that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have with the signing of Kindle Vildor and the re-signing of Bryce Hall, and of course still having Jamal Dean on this team for now, and of course Ian McCollum. But Todd Bowles, I wouldn't say irate, but Todd Bowles was like, hell no, we don't have good depth at corner. And he's like, it is crystal clear we are going to address that in the draft. We actually have the video of it, so we will play it for you, the Pewter people. This is Jason Licht talking about the depth at corner, and then Todd Bowles as well. Also some conversation about Jamal Dean in it too.
So Jamal, we've had some injuries last couple of years. You know, he was a really good player not too long ago. He has high expectations for himself. We have high expectations for him, and we feel good about Jamal.
How do you feel about the overall depth at corner? You mentioned Dean before, but some of the guys behind him that were signed this offseason.
Good. I think we've made improvements, and we're in a better place than we were last year.
Todd, how do you feel about the overall depth at corner going into this season with some of the signings that were made?
We don't have a lot of depth. I mean, that's crystal clear. We don't have a lot of depth. We hope to address that at some point in the draft as well, obviously. And we didn't sign many in free agency. We signed Vendor. We signed back Bryce. He's coming off an injury. We got to see what Vendor can do, obviously, but we got to address that in the draft. Like I said, everybody's positioned up for grabs. I think Lions probably 1A, 1B because Lions stayed healthier during the year. He's got to get healthy. You know, he comes in and he plays. He can't play half a year every couple of years. And he understands he's got to get healthy and everything he can to be healthy. We got to have some depth there just in case somebody comes in and competes with him. He's not going to beat.
Yeah, so once again, Todd Bowles just being blunt and honest about, Jamal Dean specifically being like, hey, he's not coming in as the starter. He's going to have to earn it like everybody else. And I know coaches say that, but, like Baker Mayfield doesn't have competition for quarterback this season.
Right.
Baker Mayfield will be the starter. Same with Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. But for Jamal Dean, it's a little bit different because we have discussed the possibility of maybe the Bucs let go of Jamal Dean, but then you see the skyrocketing prices of some of these corners like Derek Stingley Jr. and J.C. Horn. I know we mentioned them on yesterday's show. But, with all the blunt and honesty of, hey, he gets injured a lot. We can't rely on him necessarily. He didn't specifically say that. And then the fact that he's like, we will be addressing cornerback in the draft. This is the directness of Todd Bowles that we have wanted to see. Now, again, very different from what Jason Licht had to say. And it makes me think, I still believe the Bucs will be best player available regardless of what it is. But I would not be shocked at all if within the first 2 rounds, there is a new corner on the Bucs in the draft.
Yeah, it was interesting because he actually said when it came to Zion McCollum, a player that he absolutely loves and adores and has been trying to get into the starting lineup really since the guy was drafted just because of his length, his athleticism, and all of that. But, the thing with Zion even is he kind of got called out a little bit at the combine as well, because he said that Zion got bored in some games. Like when he wasn't bored, he was playing really well. But when he got bored, his technique fell off and everything like that. So I do love the straight talk, the bluntness from Todd Bowles, calling it like he sees it. It reminds me so much of Bruce Arians. It's very refreshing. And I hope this continues into the season because I think it can be beneficial to the players to let them know exactly where they stand, even in the media, applying a little bit of peer pressure from the outside. But I'll read that quote from Bowles about Zion McCollum, and we'll talk about Dean in a second. He says, I think Zion McCollum is probably 1A. 1B, because Zion stayed healthier during the year. Dean has got to get healthy. So, it's with Jamal Dean, I think that Todd likes Jamal, but he likes the healthy, focused version of Jamal. And he's getting frustrated with that. He said a couple of times now that when you only play half of games, it doesn't help the team. And I mean, this is what he's talking about. This is Jamal Dean on the bike in the second half of that Washington Commanders game when Josh Hayes gave up a touchdown on 4th and 2, 4th and 4 down there by the goal line to Terry McLaurin to go ahead of the Buccaneers in the fourth quarter. And then Josh Hayes on, I want to say 3rd and 6, gave up like a 21-yard catch and run to Diyabi Brown on that final drive that got the Commanders into field goal range and on the Buccaneers side of the field. And so this is the issue with Jamal Dean is I think he'll stay on the team this year, even as a high-priced backup, but there will be competition. They will draft what the Bucs hope and feel will be a starting caliber cornerback. We've seen going back to the 2019 season, Matt, Todd Bowles is not afraid to play young corners. He started Sean Murphy-Bunting. He started Jamal Dean that year. Even Mike Edwards saw the field as a rookie. He started the next year, Antoine Winfield Jr. at free safety in 2020 without the benefit of any preseason games, stuck him out there against Drew Brees in week 1 in New Orleans. So he's even told us, going back to Indy, cornerback is probably the easiest position for a player to come in and play. It just has to be a talented player. It can't be a Tyreek Funderburk or a Josh Hayes.
No, it can't right now. And then I think part of the issue with Jamal Dean, it's not just the injuries. And, he did miss 5 games this season, missed 4 games last season as well. But you're almost screwing over the Bucs a little bit more. And again, it's circumstance, it's happenstance. But how many times have we seen with Jamal Dean, he gets injured in the game? So
right.
on the stats, it says, oh, he started or he played in this game.
Yeah.
He gets injured like in the first quarter or early on. And again,
New Orleans against Washington.
All injuries are different, but you almost screw over the Bucs a little bit more when you get injured early in the game or in the middle of a game.
Yeah.
Because you can, if you know on Friday that he's not playing, you can adjust different things.
That's right.
You'll dress other players and keep other players inactive. But, the Hayes out of the barn or whatever that saying is once you get to Sunday and the game is underway.
The Hayes in the barn. It's a Midwestern expression.
Yes.
Yeah.
So at that point, then you're just kind of stuck with Tyreek Funderburk. And
you're right.
And that goes into what Todd Bowles is saying as well, where we don't have the depth. So, he's saying it without saying it of like, Funderburk's probably not making this team this year, or at least certainly
Yeah.
is going to have to lobby to make this team. Same with Josh Hayes. So the amount of talent that is going to be brought in. And you know what? If Jamal Dean is a high-priced third-string cornerback,
Fine.
that's totally fine because it would
Absolutely.
just be for this season. It's not like
Yes.
a Kirk Cousins situation where where it could financially strap the Buccaneers
Right.
for a very long time. Like, yeah, there is going to be a $6 and change million dead cap hit if they let go of Jamal Dean, but they also would have saved $8 million. So if you keep him for one more year and then decide to go in a different direction, the Bucs are going to be fine overall.
Totally.
And you know what? Who knows? Maybe Jamal Dean sees what's going on, feels his feet to the fire, and has the best year of his career and gets 5 interceptions. I guess now I'm trying to speak it into existence. That's fantastic too, because then you're just making your overall team better, and Jamal Dean can set himself up to maybe get a good payday somewhere else too. So it's a very fluid situation right now. There are situations all over.
Yeah, and to your point about Jamal Dean and the cap ramifications, right now, if they were to part ways with them prior to June 1, the Buccaneers would take on $6.8 million in dead cap, a dead cap hit, but they would free up $8.2 million in savings. So there's that. Not that the team needs really any cap room right now per se. If they wait till after June 1, then the cap hit for Jamal Dean would only be $2.2 million in terms of the dead cap hit, and they would actually save $12.8 million. Okay, so let's say they hang on to Jamal Dean for this season, and he is the high-priced backup because he knows the system, and he knows how to play with the secondary in the scheme with Todd Bowles. And if that's the case, and they decide to part ways with him next year, right? They cut him, they trade him, whatever happens next year, then it's a different situation. Then the dead money on his cap, or on the Buccaneers cap, is $4.5 million, and they free up $11.2 million. So the pendulum swings even more in the Buccaneers' favor in creating cap room next year, because in 2026, that will be the final year of Jamal Dean's contract. And, and that's, then he'll be 31, and you probably want to replace him at that point anyways, just because he's an aging corner. But the interesting thing about what you said about Jamal Dean only playing in halves of games, let's not forget, go back to the last 2 playoff losses for the Buccaneers. In other words, the end of the road games for Tampa Bay, the Detroit Lions game 2 years ago, the Commanders game. He was not on the field in the second half for either of those games. Remember, this was the dropped interception in the first quarter on the first drive of the Lions game. The Lions took a 3-0 lead, right? But remember, the Buccaneers had not picked off Jared Goff in that creamsicle game earlier in the year. He kind of thwarted the Buccaneers, stymied the Buccaneers. This would have been maybe a momentum swing for Tampa Bay, right? Maybe it rattles Jared Goff a little bit. We saw how the first drive interception by Zion McCollum rattled Jared Goff in that week 2 win against the Lions during the 2024 season. So this dropped interception was huge. It gave the Lions an early 3-0 lead, and Goff went on to have a big day. Well, later in the game, Jamal Dean exits because of a back injury. So he didn't even finish the game. Then they start picking on Zion McCollum, and Zion McCollum was victimized by Amon-Ra St. Brown. Lions won the game, right? And we just showed the photo about Jamal Dean riding the bike in the second half of the Commanders' loss while watching Josh Hayes get torched out there on the field. So the interesting thing is, and I thought this comment actually sums up really well here from Earthly Gods. Light is looking at bodies. Bowles is looking at skill set and production. And that's exactly right. I think Jason Light's saying, okay, well, you know what? Josh Hayes and Tyreek Funderburk, are here. And we've leveled up a little bit. We've increased the talent at the floor position, right? We've raised the floor. Now we have Kindle Vildor, and we've got Bryce Hall back. And what Todd Bowles is saying is like, that's not good enough. Like Bryce Hall, love the guy. Let's re-sign him, bring him to camp. That does not mean he's going to make the team, right? We saw him get beat during training camp. I don't know that Bryce Hall is the answer by any means to this team. He only played not even a first full game in Tampa Bay before dislocating the ankle. Kindle Vildor, is he a better cornerback than Josh Hayes? Yeah, probably. Is he better than Tyreek Funderburk? Probably, yeah. He's got experience, but is he the guy you want in the game? No, he's the guy you want on special teams, maybe as cornerback 5 on this team, and you want more capable corners. And I think that too is to your point, Matt. Why Jamal Dean as an expensive backup this year? If they draft a rookie that can come in and beat him out, might not be the worst thing in the world.
And I kind of do agree with Jason Licht and Todd Bowles in this situation. Because one of the last things Jason Licht said when he was addressing the overall depth of the cornerback is that we're in a better situation now this year compared to last year. And I do agree with that, because if something were to happen to Bryce Hall, again, hypothetically, in the first game of the season, you feel a little bit better about Kindle Vildor than you necessarily do with Funderburk or Josh Hayes. But at the same time, Todd Bowles is totally right as well, where maybe let's not rest on our or your laurels in this sense with the Buccaneers and Jason Licht.
Right.
Let's go out and find. I mean, what has Todd Bowles said this entire offseason? Ball hawks, ball hawks, ball hawks, ball hawks. They want ball hawks. Why would you stop with just, boosting the back end of the cornerback room? And I don't even know what to make of Bryce Hall either. I think it's a fine signing because it was dirt cheap and he at least saw the defense. He didn't really play in it, but he saw the defense last year. So, why not bring him back for cheap? And then if he's anything of the semblance of a corner that he was back with the Jets, well then, that's a pretty good spot with overall depth. But I would love, from a drama standpoint and content standpoint, I would love to see a cornerback 2 competition between Jamal Dean and then whoever the Bucs decide to draft. That would be a great saga. We'd talk about it every single day in training camp and on the podcast. But in all reality, even if your rookie corner, like a Kobe Bryant or whoever they decide to go with, ends up being your cornerback 3, then you feel much, much better about this defense and this secondary as a whole group going into the season.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right there. And let's get to a couple super chats here a couple that talk about the cornerback position, and we'll address those as well.
Yeah, let's start it off with Mark Fisher. Thank you for the $4.99 super chat, who says, if he's unhappy, he has the ability to change it. I also hope it involves asking why our defensive backs play so deep. And he did say he was changing the scheme.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing too is he's changing how they handle the practices. They want more competitive practices, and it's logical when you're getting bit by the injury bug that you almost want to have less intense practices, right? And there's a couple of those practices, like Tyke Smith banged his knee with a wide receiver during practice, and the knee swelled up so much that he couldn't run for like weeks. Right. And that happened on a Friday practice. And, you want to save your guys for Sunday. There is that part of it. But for young players, they have to develop in practice.
Yeah.
They have to develop the tight coverage ability. They have to develop the ability to the confidence to make plays on the ball. Right. Not just wait till the receiver catches the ball, then make the tackle, or I'm going to go in and stick my hand in and try to break up the pass. Well, if the goal is interceptions, you got to go get interceptions in practice, because how you play on Sundays is how you practice during the week. And so I think Todd Bowles has to throw some caution to the wind and say, damn the torpedoes. We're just going to have some really feisty, get after it practices, and maybe do that way more in the OTAs, right? Since that's what you can do, right? You can't really work on run blocking and pass rushing, live contact, because that's not really allowed during OTAs, but you can do hell of many one-on-ones with receivers and DBs and tight ends and DBs, and have them play tighter coverage, practice tighter coverage, get these guys more confidence so that they're not playing off so far, or they're not giving so much of a cushion, and they're actually trying to make more plays in the ball. We saw Zion McCollum really take a step forward last year, because in practice he said, screw it, I don't care if I get beat, I'm going to try to make more plays in the ball. And it started off that way pretty well for him. He got a couple of early interceptions and pass breakups, and I think he got a little bit more conservative as the season went on, when he got beat a couple times. But I think for everybody across the board, be as ballsy as you can and try to get your hands on those passes from these quarterbacks in live settings. The jugs machine helps only so much. Like, you're not going to become a top interceptor sitting there 7 feet away from a machine catching balls like this repetitively and stuff, because that's not how passes are thrown or completed. You've got to be able to track passes, see the ball as it's being released from the quarterback, be tight with receivers, and this whole Kevin Ross thing. I want these guys catching 50 passes a day. It didn't work. It doesn't work. I can tell you that. You got to be able to do this in a practice setting. And I think Bowles recognizes that. I think it's going to happen.
I love that Bowles had his aha moment, the breakthrough moment that he was talking about. And he was talking about defensive schemes specifically, maybe not necessarily OTAs and training camp, but I think that's a great idea. Make it as intense as possible without the risk of certain physical injuries. And OTAs, I mean, let's remember 2 years ago, a little bit of a different position, but a position the Bucs are also going to be addressing in this year's draft. At linebacker, remember Servassier Dennis had a couple of interceptions in like rookie mini camp and OTAs. Yeah, like he was one of the most exciting players. So if you're going to draft a corner, which Todd Bowles has confirmed from the NFL annual meeting, and you're going to draft a linebacker because they definitely need to just from a depth standpoint, and maybe there's another safety in the mix, why not have these guys be as intense as possible, really throw them into the mix right away, and see what they got, see what they're good at, see what they're bad at. And if you can't really go and defend the run because there's not that physical contact, based on the issues that the Bucs had last year at inside linebacker with defending the pass, stopping tight ends, well, damn, I'd rather have these linebackers and these corners and these safeties, linebackers specifically, because you're not relying as much at a corner. I'd rather have them more equipped to defend the pass in week 1 of the regular season than I would stopping the run. Because I don't know, you still got Kalijah Cansey and more specifically Vita Vea up there in the middle that can help stop the run. And Yaya does a good job about that on the edge too. So why not just immediately attack probably the biggest weakness for this team that you can attack in OTAs?
Christopher Oxentine says, Bulls DBs coaches aren't being held to the fire. Is that what it sounds like? I don't know. I'm not Todd Bowles, so I don't want to speak for him, but I'll say this. Kevin Ross and Bowles were teammates at Temple. Nick Rapone was his position coach, his safeties coach at Temple. So Todd has some serious connections with those two guys. If you look at the shuffling that was done, right, essentially George Edwards, did he get promoted or did he get demoted? He got promoted to a coordinator position, but he kind of got demoted because he's no longer coaching a position. Right. Larry Foote got moved to outside linebackers coach. Hallelujah. Amen. And Larry Foote, that vacancy at the inside linebacker spot was filled by Mike Caldwell. Again, a trusted hand at that position. But he left the two defensive backs coaches, actually 3 when you consider Rashad Johnson, who's the Nichols coach, a young up-and-coming guy. Really, I'm high on Rashad Johnson. Did a great job with Tyke Smith last year. But that's fine. If you're going to keep those guys because of your allegiances to them, whatever, you still have to demand more from them. Let's hope that happens behind the scenes. And at the same time, too, Todd is a safety at heart. Okay. He is a defensive back at heart. He has talked about when he implements his defense, he does not start with the pressure packages up front. He starts with the coverage first and does the secondary work, and then looks at marrying the coverage he wants to run with the pressure package up front. And that's how he designs his defense. Great. So at the end of the day, he's responsible for the secondary. He's responsible for the 6 interceptions out of the 7 that this team had last year out of the entire, you had the Levante David pick and then 6 picks from the secondary as a whole. He's responsible, and I think he'll figure it out. He seems very motivated to right a lot of the wrongs from last year. And I think this goes back to our initial point, Matt, where there's a little bit of angst from Bowles saying, Jason, like, we work really well together, and I like Tyreek Funderburk too. And this is just my hypothesis here. I'm not putting words in Bowles' mouth, but I'm thinking that he's like, hey, maybe we should have had Tyreek Funderburk on the practice squad instead. And maybe we should have had somebody else other than Bryce Hall in case there's an injury to one of our starters and Bryce is in there, right? Or, whatever. The depth was not good enough last year. And I think what Todd is concerned about is is it's like, okay, Jason, you like marginally got a little bit better depth, but is not good enough. And I appreciate that. I mean,
Yes.
because at the end of the day, Bowles came under fire because this is his defense, his terrible pass defense, his lack of interceptions on that side of the ball. And he wants to help make amends for it. He wants better talent that can help get those interceptions and play better defense. So he doesn't have to rely on an undrafted free agent in a 6th-round draft pick who's better as a gunner than he is a defensive back.
And what I will reiterate again, it doesn't make an excuse for Todd Bowles. It doesn't make every excuse for Todd Bowles. But since he's been a head coach for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, he's had to coach within certain parameters. It was not tweaking his staff when he first came on, replacing Bruce Arians. It was playing with really no money in free agency to add to this team and hoping Baker Mayfield would work out and putting much more of an emphasis on the offense. Good for Todd Bowles for, pushing back a little bit and saying, hey,
I agree.
Throw me a bone here. Like, I need a little bit of something. And it started with Hassan Reddick, but that doesn't mean, hey, well, you got Hassan Reddick, therefore you're going to have to make the rest of it. No, help him out a little bit more. It's clear the defense needs more help right now with personnel. And we've seen Todd Bowles do wonders with great personnel. Just go back to his tenure in Tampa Bay. And I'm not going to write off Todd Bowles for one bad defensive season because there's way more great seasons that he's had than one bad season. I think other fans should too. But we got another super chat from Samuel Fisher, no relation to Mark Fisher. Mark clarified that in the comments as well. But thank you for the $5 super chat, Samuel, who says, sounds like Todd is looking for a guy like Darian Porter. All the qualities Bucs are looking for. By the way, my Pewter Premier member bet applies to him too.
Well, as our resident Cyclone fan, you're jonesing for Jalen Noel or perhaps Darian Porter or maybe both. Shoot, get Jaden Higgins too, right? You would be the happiest of all Buccaneer fans if that was the case. The only thing is, they didn't interview Darian Porter, and I know Todd loves tough cornerbacks that like to tackle, and that was the beef with Keenan Isaacs, right? So Keenan Isaac was a guy who was a good cover corner, had great length and all that type of stuff. Wasn't the fastest guy, but didn't tackle, didn't play the run well. And I think that's the knock on Porter. If you look at his PFF run grade, 36.8, it's one of the worst among all corners. And then you look at his coverage grade, 90.1, one of the best in terms of pure coverage. He's got, fantastic size in terms of what Todd Bowles looks for on the outside, 6'3", 195. 33-inch arms. You ran a 4.3. He fits that mold. I just wonder if the lack of run stopping ability and the tackling issues, if that is what knocks him down a peg. I mean, they didn't interview him formally. They didn't even interview him informally either. The other thing about Porter is he was I believe a 5th or 6th year senior. And he didn't see the field really on defense till his last year. And it's like, why was that? Why did it take so long for such a talented athlete to see the field and to really get a lot of playing time? I mean, he had just over 100 reps in the 2023 season compared to over 400 reps as a senior in 2024. But you like the statistics from the position that he played last year, 3 interceptions, a passer rating of 4.7%, not 47, 4.7. He allowed 5 catches on 17 targets. That's ridiculously low for just 70 yards and no touchdowns. So from a coverage standpoint, there's a lot to like. From a total cornerback standpoint, I don't know that the Buccaneers are sold. And he's a second-round guy based upon his attributes, at least a day 2 guy. And we'll see. We'll see what the Buccaneers, if he's one of those sleeper guys that they're keeping interest in down low like they did with Kalijah Kancey, or if they don't bring him in for a top 30 visit and you combine that with no combine interview, maybe they're not high on him at all.
Yeah, he's popped up in some mock drafts as well. I remember when Josh Capo and I were doing our mock draft madness, and he was certainly on the radar. And missed tackles was an issue for the Bucs last season. We know how early in Zion's career it was an issue, but then he was able to clean it up. Bucs can ill afford a defensive back that cannot tackle because they do have some good ones, but has been an issue at times. Bucs Basement, thank you for the $2 super chat talking about Todd Bowles, says he should be unhappy with his many issues as well. However, that's why he hired Zach Beastline.
Yeah.
He's trying to improve on some of these issues that he's had as a
Agree.
head coach, with one of them being in-game management. And also, I think Todd has learned as well that, so at least on the offensive side, just trust your coaches to coach and do their job. Maybe he's doing that a little bit too much on the defensive side.
Yeah.
But I think Todd really has learned a lot being a head coach this second time around, this time in Tampa Bay.
Yeah, and as Jason Licht said too, Andy Reid was really knocked for the game management issues in Philadelphia, and he got better when he went to Kansas City. And sometimes it just takes coaches a while, but I give Todd credit. He again is saying all the right things, and I like what he's done. There's only so much you can do. These players are not in the field right now, but so everything we're seeing Todd do behind the scenes, the aha moment, all of the chalkboard stuff and the film reviews, we don't see that, right?
Mm.
But we do see the coaching changes. We do see hiring of Zach Beastline to help with game management. We do see him proclaim visibly, loudly, he wants ball hawks. He wants guys that can create takeaways. He knows what the problems are. I think he's smart enough to know how to fix them. Does he have enough around him in the coaching staff and on the field to have those changes come into action? Well, we'll find out. But so far, so good. I like the humbleness, the humility that he's had. He has pointed the finger at himself, and he knows this team has got to get better to obviously advance in the playoffs and reach the Super Bowl. And he's working hard at it. I'll give him that. Again, we'll find out on the field what happens and how that manifests itself. But so far, so good for Todd Bowles. I can't fault him for anything that he has done or not done so far this offseason.
I agree. We have a $49.99 super
Mopar.
chat from Mopar
Thank you.
Buck. Thank you so much. Who says, can you please explain how impactful it is to have a dominant defensive line that can beat their man with 4 rather than sending blitzes all game? That is barely making it home where Bowles is having to play defensive backs soft. There's confusion, in the chat on this.
Yeah, and I think too, like I came down on Bowles for dropping his edge rushers into pass coverage too much. Like Diyabi had like 99 pass drop snaps.
Yeah.
And I thought that was ridiculous. It's like, okay, well, if you want this guy to get better as a pass rusher, have him rush the passer. If you want more sacks from him, have him rush the passer and get to the quarterback, not drop in coverage. But Bowles' thinking was, we're going to do more zone blitzing because we're not getting there with Yaya and the 4. And you think about this, Yaya, Kalijah Kancey, Vita Vea, that's 3 out of the 4. Those are 3 out of the 4 guys that are going to start again this year. So were they really missing just one guy up front? Maybe. We'll see. We'll see if Hassan Reddick makes enough of a difference. But you're right. You have to be able to win with 4. We heard Todd talk about that at Indy. We heard him talk about it yesterday at West Palm. You have to be able to do that. You can't rely on the blitz all the time because it does expose you in some coverages, right? And I think that was the problem was when they had Josh Hayes in the field or Tyreek Thunderbrook on the field, or maybe you have Mike Edwards and Kayvon Merriweather on the field at safety as they did a couple games. It's not ideal, right? And you got to get pressure. And if you can't get pressure with 4, Todd would try to hurry up that pressure with blitzes, and it just led to quarterbacks just dinking and dunking and finding the easy completions underneath. It's Austin Eckler on Yaya Diyabi on 3rd and 10 in that Commanders game, right? Like that's not ideal at all.
Yeah, exactly. That's the whole point of the blitz is you're supposed to get there quick, because if you don't get there quick and they pick it up, well, then you either get a mismatch like you just mentioned, or you just have guys open because you don't have enough players dropping back in coverage. And that's why the Bucs got predictable. Not necessarily that the offense knew what kind of blitz was going to come, but that you knew a blitz was coming. So you knew you had to get rid of the ball quickly. And when you already have that mindset, it makes you quicker with adjusting and just making sure that you are throwing the football, and worst case scenario, dumping it off to a running back. I mean, we saw in 2020 how great it was when they did just rush 4, because you could play a little man and still keep some safeties back with the too high. Don't let a speedster like Tyreek Hill beat you deep down the field. You can play zone. You just have more bodies reading the quarterback, covering. You could double up on someone if you want to, if you get that consistent pressure. So at the end of the day, a 4-man pass rush is better than blitzing over and over and over. I mean, you can go back to the dawn of football and just,
Sure.
if you have more people in coverage and still getting the same
That's right.
quick pass rush with 4 versus blitz, that's always going to work, and it's always going to help defensive coordinator. Bowles just hasn't always had that luxury, but he would love to.
No, I totally agree. Speaking of luxury, if you have the opportunity to give the folks over at Briar Greaves Insurance a call, you're going to find out that they're going to treat you like royalty. And that is a luxury in today's insurance field, because how many times have you called your big insurance company and sat on hold, and then you finally get on hold and you've got no relationship with the person on the other line? It's just an operator, and they're just there to provide customer service and answer questions and all that. But they're not going to be as thorough as the folks over at Briar Greaves. I have my insurance through Briar Greaves, my homeowners, as well as my auto. And they even helped us insure our property up in Georgia from my deceased father-in-law. We had to get insurance for that house up there. And, they helped us with an out-of-state policy. And it's just that customer service, that personal touch that you're going to get from an independent agency. That's the benefit of it. I know I can get John Greaves, my own personal insurance agent, who is the son of Briar Greaves, on the phone. He'll text me back. He'll email me back. And it's that personal attention to detail that matters in today, just like it's always mattered, but maybe even more so today. So what I want you to do is give Briar Greaves Insurance a call at 813-876-4166, or visit them on the web at briargreavesinsurance.com. That's Briar, B-R-I-E-R, Greaves, G-R-I-E-V-E-S, insurance.com. And the best part about them is they're going to shop your rate around to all the different kind of insurance companies, do all the legwork for you, save you so much time, and get you the absolute best rate possible. Maybe it's Geico. For me and my family, it's Travelers Insurance for our auto needs. So they've done so much legwork for me, saved me so much time and money, that I've given my business to Briar Greaves Insurance for years, and you should too. Again, briargreavesinsurance.com, 813-876-4166. We've got an exciting slate of shows. Even though it's Wednesday, we still have a couple more shows left in the week, including a show tomorrow with Bucs outside linebacker.
Diyabi.
Diyabi. That's right. The Bucs pass rusher is going to be joining the show tomorrow at 4 o'clock. Make sure that you check us out on Pewter Report TV, our YouTube channel. We are about 14 subscribers away from hitting 18,000. We'd love to do that tomorrow. So if you are watching the show, either live or one of the archived version, you can hit the subscribe button and help us get to 18,000. We'd love to hit that this week. And we'd love to have you participate in tomorrow's show with Yaya Diaby at 4 o'clock. But then the fun does not end there, folks. That's right. We've got our mock draft dropping tomorrow on pewterreport.com. Josh Capo and myself are putting the final touches on it, and we're going to have that released at 5 p.m. on pewterreport.com. That's mock draft number 4. And then our mock draft show, our 4th show of the year, will be tomorrow night at 8:30. We'll answer your questions. We'll take your comments. So make sure that you join Josh and myself tomorrow at 8:30. And then for our Pewter Insiders, for the Pewter Platinum and Premier members, your special show, Matt and I will be on at 1:30 on Friday, as usual, talking about cornerbacks. What cornerbacks are the Bucs targeting? And we'll have a full breakdown of that too at 1:30 for our Pewter Premier and Platinum members. And Matt, we always appreciate our Pewter Premier and Platinum members.
Yeah.
And the Platinum members always get a shout out too from us, which we're happy to do.
Yes, thank you to Scott Federico, Raythel Gordon, Noah Parr, Scotty J, Dave Anderson, Hezo813, Ash Fishpool, Joel Elrican, Sam, John Dale Morris, Zach Brannigan, RP89, Eric McMillan, Connor Four Reels, Zach Jarvis, Kevin Thomas, and Mario Thomas. Thank you all so much for your support of pewterreport.com.
Yep. Let's get another super chat up here, Matt.
Yeah, Jamie Miles, thanks for the $2 super chat. Having the draft on the mind, says my ideal 3 picks: 1, Jihad Campbell; 2, Savon Revel; and 3, Xavier Watts.
Well, those are some ball hawks right there for sure, especially in rounds 2 and 3, and that would certainly boost the secondary. You know, we've got Malachi Starks. He's going to be in our mock draft. No surprise there. He's the cover guy. And we'll see how it changes. We'll have our next mock draft show coming out when our final mock draft comes out, which is Monday, April 21, the week of the draft. And we'll see. Will it have Jihad Campbell as the first round pick? I'm not sure. The thing about Jihad Campbell is he had one really good year. And you can kind of say the same thing about Savon Revel, because Revel got hurt last year. He did have a couple of interceptions, including a pick 6 in 3 games. So that's a lot of production in just 3 games coming off the ACL injury. Xavier Watts, there are some questions about how athletic he is. He is a ball hawk. He's got a nose for it. There's no doubt about it. But this is not a bad 1, 2, and 3 here. If the Bucs pick these players, I would feel optimistic and want to give them the opportunity to either rise or fall on their own athleticism and their own merits. This would not be a bad trio of Buccaneers here heading into day 3. Not exactly my picks, but Jamie, I can't fault yours.
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly risk involved with Campbell probably not even being ready for the beginning of the regular season, and Revel coming back from an injury. So there's a little bit of a risk in there, but on paper, it does look pretty damn good. I mean, Campbell certainly fits a lot of needs that the Bucs are looking for at inside linebacker. Savon, we've talked about a ton with just he would have been a first rounder if it wasn't for his injury and the cover traits that he has and the length. And Xavier Watts is crazy athletic too. And, there's a reason why that Notre Dame defense was so stifling last season as they went to the national championship game before falling to Ohio State. I mean, we know Todd Bowles loves athletic players. He loves versatility. And I think Watts would really give that to the position where they're still trying to figure out exactly what to do at nickel, what to do at safety, because we kind of penciled in Tyke Smith to start at strong safety next to Antoine Winfield Jr. at free safety. But again, based on some of the comments by Jason Licht and Todd Bowles, this one they were on the same page about. Not necessarily set in stone that Tyke Smith could be starting at safety. They did both say that there have been conversations about that. Jason Licht pretty much said, we don't want to put more on his plate than what he already has. And then I had asked Todd Bowles his confidence level in Tyke Smith playing more time on the field, because that's what would happen if he were to start next to Antoine Winfield Jr. And he said, confidence in Tyke is high. It's just a matter of him being healthy. We think he's a heck of a football player. Coming back, just being a rookie, it's kind of tough to go through a year like that and go through 17 games, plus playoff games and preseason. So hopefully he comes back more conditioned for the NFL season. I think he'll be fine. From a confidence standpoint, we feel like we can put him anywhere. So they want to play him everywhere, but it sounds a little bit like they want to make sure that Tyke Smith can be healthy for an entire season, because he did miss some time, and he missed time only playing 75% of the snaps. So what happens if he's playing 100% of the snaps? As we know, best ability is availability.
That's exactly right. That is exactly right. And it is going to be interesting to see. I think they're kind of non-committal about what they're going to do with Tyke Smith until they see who they end up with in the draft, right? If they draft the nickel corner, then more power to them, and maybe they move Tyke to strong safety. If they draft Malachi Starks in the first round, they probably keep Tyke at nickel. That probably is how it would play out. And so they'll wait a couple of weeks, and OTAs don't start until after the draft. So Tyke will know where he's going to play after the draft, and he'll have plenty of time to make any necessary adjustments on the field.
All right, we got a couple more super chats to get to. Let's go to Mike Wells. Thank you for the $5 super chat. Says, if Will Johnson or Starks make it to 19, I hope Light runs that pick in. Love the show, guys. Thank you, Mike. We appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate it. Well, you're going to like our next mock draft because we do have Malachi Starks to the Buccaneers in the first round. We think that's definitely a possibility. He was a formal interview at the Combine. Super smart guy, very similar to Tyke Smith in terms of high football IQ, obviously teammates with Smith. So there's that chemistry already on the field. A bit of a playmaker. I think he's a little twitchier than Smith. I think Smith might be a little tougher, maybe a sure tackler, but Starks isn't far behind in that category. I mean, listen, if you get two Tyke Smith caliber players on the field together, or two Malachi Starks, however you want to compare those two, that's not the worst thing in the world, right? So I could make an argument for their drafting this Georgia prospect. Will Johnson, I'm not sure if Will's going to slide to 19. If he does, there are some issues there. His film in 2024 wasn't as robust as you would like for it to be, but the 2023 film was very good. MVP of the national championship game, ball hawk, great size. I think fast enough to play for Bowles' scheme. Listen, either one of those players will make the Buccaneers better. And I think that's what you have to hope for is that Tampa Bay gets a player that can provide an upgrade on defense and help this team.
Yeah, that's exactly how I feel. It's a good spot to be in if Johnson and Starks are both available. I've spoken a lot on this show about how big of a fan I am of Malachi Starks and the Georgia connection and the Tyke Smith connection. So I would still lean Starks, but it's hard not to go with the corner, especially after what Todd Bowles was just talking about yesterday in the morning. We have a $5 super chat from Connor for Reals. Thank you, Connor, who says, hard to imagine a third Super Bowl in 50 years, but if we win in this window with Mike and Levante, do we dare say this team is better than our all-time greats of 2003? Well,
technically it's 2002 because it was the 2002 season, but but the game was played in 2003. It maybe. I mean, there's a lot of players. Let's look at it right now. I mean, how many Buccaneer players were on the Super Bowl just from 2022? Right? There's Mike, and there's Levante. There's Chris. There's Antoine. There's Tristan. There's 5. There's Jamal Dean. There's 6. Right?
Did you say Winfield?
Yeah, I said Winfield. So there's 6 players there.
Yeah.
I think that's it, right?
I feel like we're missing one, but Vita Vea.
Oh yeah, true. Yeah, Vita Vea. 7.
Vita Vea.
That's 7.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, if Will Golson somehow gets re-signed, but so that'd be 7.
7 players just from 2020. That's how quickly this roster's turned over. So, can you say that the 2025 Super Bowl team would be better than the 2002 Super Bowl team? I don't know. I mean, that 2002 Super Bowl team had Hall of Famers in Derek Brooks, John Lynch, Rodney Barber, and Warren Sapp. I mean, it's 4 Hall of Famers. This one here would have, in theory, Tristan Wirfs, Mike Evans. I think you can say those 2 guys for sure. I don't know if Levante David gets in the Hall of Fame. So that's 2, right? Where are the other Hall of Famers on this team?
Right, and
maybe Winfield.
Yeah, I mean, you can't even compare like the 2025 team to the 2020 team. I mean, it's not even the same like quarterback. So I think you have to break it down to the players that won 2 Super Bowls with the Bucs on 2020, 2025 versus the 02 team.
Yes.
In that standpoint, I mean, there's no argument with the people that came back for offense. I mean, it's Mike and Chris over any receiver ever in the history of the Bucs, not even the 02 team. Same with Tristan Wirfs. Really what it comes down to is the defensive side with Vita Vea and Levante and Antoine Winfield Jr. Antoine is really the only one that you're going to have a conversation with, going up against essentially John Lynch if we're having Rondé as a corner, because Rondé and Jamel, it's Rondé all day. Yeah. We like Vita Vea, but I mean, Warren Sapp is one of the greatest defensive tackles to ever play the game. Yeah. So it really comes down to, if you're talking offense, it's the current team. If you're talking defense, it's the 2002 team with the exception of Antoine Winfield Jr.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that.
But it's a fun conversation.
It is. Well, and the other thing too is like to me, that's what would solidify Mike on that Bucs Mount Rushmore, right? And he'd have to knock off someone like Selman. I mean, when you're talking about the elite players, and Leroy Selman is an elite player, but if you only have four, in my view, it will be Sapp, Brooks, Barber, and Mike Evans. Those four are my Bucs Mount Rushmore. All of them have Super Bowl rings, right? That's a qualifier right there. And if Mike has 2 Super Bowl rings, then he's definitely on that list for sure. And then you have to remove Leroy. There's no argument. You have to maybe even remove Rondé if you're a Leroy loyalist, right? Brooks and Sapp, you're not moving. You're not moving those guys. They are guaranteed rock solid guys. They're not going to leave Mount Rushmore for the Buccaneers. They're just that special of players. Derek Brooks, the most decorated Buccaneer of all time. Warren Sapp, if you were to draft a Buccaneer and say, we're going to restart the franchise, we're going to pick any of the Buccaneer players, homegrown, not like a Tom Brady, and start the franchise, Warren Sapp's your number 1 pick. Just one of the most disruptive defensive players of all time.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, to me, Mike's already on it. I mean, yes, he has the Super Bowl, but he's also he already has his own record. He has another record that he's tied with literally only Jerry Rice, and he could beat that next year. And if the yards and the touchdowns continue, he's going to end up within the top 10 of all-time receiving yards and all-time touchdowns. He could end up 5th all-time on touchdowns. I mean, if that's not Ring of Honor or Mount Rushmore worthy for the Bucs, then I think we need to relook of what the clarifications and the qualifications are to be on it.
Yeah. Supply and Demand says, Yaya needs to learn more moves. He's just a bull rusher. Well, we're going to ask him tomorrow. What moves have you learned this offseason? How have you gotten better as a pass rusher? He told me before the offseason started that he was going to go to 2 defensive line coaches and really perfect his pass rushing craft. And we'll talk to him about that on the show tomorrow at 4:00. So we're looking forward to that. And, he'll answer your questions too. You bring some questions for Yaya and some super chats, and we'll throw them out there as well. So we're excited to talk to Yaya, who will make his 3rd appearance on the Peter Report podcast tomorrow at 4:00.
Yeah, very excited about that. Shout out to Yaya. Let's see what type of mood he's in. I'm sure he'll be in a good mood. He's always in a good mood.
He's always in a good mood.
Yeah. What exactly he wants to talk about? Yeah, we got to start like our own Pewter Report Ring of Honor of guests of like like in the NBA, if the All-Star game, they'll put like the number of All-Star appearances that you've had, like with either a star or a certain logo, whatever. We may have to start doing that with Yaya Diyabi. So very excited for Yaya.
Yeah. I'm sorry. What did you say, Matt?
Yaya Diyabi.
Yaya Diyabi.
Love it. That's going to be fun. So here's the cool thing, too. I'm just texting with another Buccaneer player. We're going to have another Buccaneer player probably on Wednesday. I'm not going to reveal it because he has not confirmed it yet, but another Buccaneer player. This one will be interesting as well. First time appearance on the Pewter Report podcast. Penciled in for Wednesday. I can't say who it is because we have to confirm it, but just, hey, we're going to have 4 podcasts next week. They're going to be good. We've got one Monday, one Tuesday, one Wednesday, and one Thursday, all at 4 p.m. And I'm actually reaching out to several players. So this particular player might not be the only player that'll be joining us next week. So we'll see. They're getting back in town now for the off-season program, which is basically strength and conditioning for the first couple weeks, get their bodies back, and it should be fun. So we've got that plus a lot of draft coverage in the mix. There was some news today. A couple things real quick. Mike Evans, he did restructure his contract. That is true. But it's more for kind of housekeeping work. I'll just say that like bookkeeping than it was for anything else. They didn't create any cap room. I know there's a tweet out there from Aaron Wilson. He has since deleted that. I've checked with the team, and it's just kind of like a restructure for housekeeping, bookkeeping stuff, not creating any cap room. They created cap room with Antoine Winfield Jr.'s restructuring. So there's not like a big move that's coming on the horizon where they had to clear all this cap room. That was not the case. I think Aaron's tweet was a little misguided, and I think that's why it's gone. So Aaron does good work, and we all kind of make mistakes sometimes. So there's that. The Buccaneers also brought in Shamar Turner, defensive tackle, high motor guy, relentless in his run defense and pass rush. He is probably a second-round pick, a little bit undersized, 6'3", 290. Think Kalijah Cansey-esque a little bit. Maybe a little thicker in terms of just his bulk. Very muscle-bound dude. I like him better than Shamar Stewart, who's the guy that gets 1.5 sacks in the last 3 years as an edge rusher. I don't want him. If you had to tell me which Texas A&M defensive lineman the Buccaneers would have to get, I would say, oh, well, give me Shamar Turner then. So second round, would that be good value? Listen, they have to cover their bases, right? I mean, we all would like to see this team get a more impactful cornerback, edge rusher, linebacker, but don't rule out defensive tackle either, because Logan Hall is entering a contract year. Will Golston will be 34 in July. Do they want to bring him back for one more year? Sentimentality, sure, but physicality, you want to get younger and more talent at the position. So that's why Shamar Stewart is one of the 6 players who is coming on visits, and we'll have I think we've updated the tracker as well, so you can check out the tracker. I'll drop that in the chat, and that'll catch everybody up to speed on which players the Buccaneers have brought in so far for their visits.
Yeah, it brings good versatility as well. Just a reminder to everybody, tomorrow, 4 p.m., we have Bucs outside linebacker Yaya Diyabi joining the show. Going to be great. Super pumped to have Yaya back on later that evening. So the Pewter Report mock draft, the article will be published at 5 o'clock, so literally 24 hours from now. And then the podcast itself will be on at 8:30 Thursday evening. So doubleheader of podcasts tomorrow, with the second one going over the latest mock draft from pewterreport.com with Scott and Josh Capo. And then Friday for the Pewter Platinum and Premier members, it's the Pewter Insider. The topic will be what cornerbacks are the Bucs targeting? And of course, we'll answer every and any comment and question that comes from you, the Pewter people.
John B., a Pewter Report channel member, says mainstream media loves mocking Stewart to the Bucs. Good research. Yeah. No thank you on Stewart. I'll take Turner. I'll take Shamar Turner, but not Shamar Stewart. Pewter Report, thank you. Defensive tackle position is important for this year and going forward. That is true. Hit the like button, says Jared Cox. 165 watching, 35 likes. Yeah. Give us the thumbs up. Hit the like button as well as leave a comment. Doing those things helps us with the Pewter Report TV channel grow, gets us in that YouTube algorithm, and helps us get in front of more awesome Bucs fans. I'll have the Pewter Pulse video tomorrow. Make sure you check that out on Pewter Report TV, our YouTube channel. And if you are considering maybe becoming one of our sponsors, well, we'd love to have you. And we've gotten some great feedback from our sponsors. You can help your business score some new business by advertising with us. We have our Pewter Report podcast, pewterreport.com, as well as a robust social media following of over 110,000 Bucs fans. Sponsorship opportunities are available. Email me at sr@pewterreport.com. I'd love to have a conversation with you. And we're excited to have Yaya Diyabi on tomorrow, man. Sorry, Yaya Diyabi.
That's right.
Get in that habit.
Yeah. In the meantime, if you're not already doing so, please make sure you follow us on all of our social media on X, Facebook, and Instagram. We are at Pewter Report, and our YouTube channel is Pewter Report TV. Please like and subscribe and leave a comment on this video. For Scott Reynolds, I'm Matt Matera saying thanks everybody for watching. We'll see you tomorrow at 4 p.m. for another edition of the Pewter Report podcast. Out.